The Senate and House Joint Capital Investment Committee hearing is called to order. Welcome, everyone. Today, we'll be working with the Senate to release a list of 330 million GO for local projects. And at this time, I will turn it over to Chair Pappas to see if she has any remarks.
I think our purpose here today is to try to keep the conversation moving, and you know we're in the last week of session, and it takes a while to get these bills through committee. So after the joint committee meets and we have the staff go over the local project list, then the Senate committee will then reconvene, and we'll be passing both this spreadsheet and our other bills that we already heard in capital finance onto the finance committee. The House bill is already on the floor. Bills are already on the floor, ready to go, needing, though, quite a bit of amendments. So we're trying to just get this out to the public, to be transparent. Very difficult in these last days to kind of keep in touch with everyone. We know that it's not easy to put together a bonding bill. We had limits to 980, and then negotiations continue as to the overall size of our bonding bill. And it's hard for us to meet all the needs of the state with just, under $1 billion. Last year was a banner year. There were a lot of high expectations. It's much more difficult this year, both for us to do what we should be doing for state agencies, including our higher ed institutions in the area of asset preservation, as well as meeting the needs of the local communities and their needs in terms of wastewater, in terms of bridges, in terms of just all their asset preservation and infrastructure needs we know are huge. So I think I'm asked Chair Lee if he would chair today in the Senate House, and then, as I said, after we complete this exercise, then we will call the Senate committee exclusively to order.
Thank you, Chair Pappas. Now we'll turn it over to Mr. Andrew Lee from House Fiscal and Ms. Hannah Nodener from Senate Fiscal. Please identify yourself and proceed. Senator Rasmussen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was wondering if we could just, talk about the process here for a second. On this local project list, I think I just received it, maybe a minute or so ago. Was wondering if you could explain kind of the process you went through to come up with this list and why it wasn't shared before committee so we could have a chance to review it ahead of time.
Thank you, Senator. I will answer that briefly, and then we'll turn it over and we can have a more robust conversation. All along this session, we have been meeting with the four leads. It really is up to the leads to decide if they want to show up to provide feedback on what is important for the caucus. Senator Pappas can talk about how she has went through the process for the Senate side, at least for us on the House side. As we all know, we went through and did 5 different regional tours. During our 3 legislative breaks, I met with members of both sides of the aisle on the House side to come up with projects that I believe, will fit the needs of the members in their district. All along, we have asked Senator Housley and Representative Erdahl to see if they want to provide a list of local projects for the minority caucuses to be reflected in what we have in front of us today. And I think at this point, it's not ready to be shared with us. And so as the chairs of the committees, we decided that it's important for us to continue to move forward so that, Minnesotans can understand that, we are doing our work to put together a proposal in front of them that will be reflective of all the caucuses that we have. And I don't know if Chair Pappas have anything to say.
Thank you for that question, Senator Rasmussen. So the process that I used as a kind of a fallback, if I didn't get a list from Senator Housley, was to have the staff go over all the Republican requests, the bills that were introduced, making sure that we had MMB forms for them, looking at what were classified as emergency or had federal dollars that they needed matches for. And then when I could, I tried to reach out to people, or they reached out to me in your caucus to talk about what the priorities were. I'm not sure if I reached everyone in that process, but I did my best. And of course, I always ask them to also talk to Senator Housley.
Senator Rasmussen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate you explaining that. And I think members of this committee believe our work on capital investment is very important. And it's, that's why we spend a lot of time traveling the state and listening to communities, coaching them on how they can perhaps improve their proposals. But one of the concerns I have here just with this hearing today is that, as far as I know, we haven't yet received a joint agreed upon target from the 4 caucus leaders on what we could potentially be doing with a bonding bill if we have an agreement to proceed with that. I know Leader Johnson, Leader Demuth publicly released their latest offer today in hopes of furthering those conversations. But as of right now, I guess, frankly, Mr. Chair, I don't know why we're meeting if we don't yet have a deal on moving a bonding bill forward. And we can kind of talk about these projects. We could discuss them for hours at end. But until we have that leadership level agreement between the 4 caucuses, I guess I don't know why we're here today.
Thank you, Senator Rasmussen. And I think, like I've said, putting together a proposal, it's time consuming. And I think we have to move forward with what we have. We have less than 4 days left for us to put something before the bodies and for us to have some public conversation and to really move this forward, and look forward to having a more robust conversation. I know that Senator Housley wants to be recognized, so Senator Housley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is a time-consuming process, but we're consuming time right now here today, and all these people came here, and I'm trying to figure out what for too, because we really have no agreed-upon number by all 4 leaders. So it's kind of just a show, and I feel bad for people who drove in from wherever hoping their project's going to be in there, but it could be in this proposal that you have right here, but that's not the final proposal because it's not even agreed upon that number. It's kind of like in real estate. If you're a realtor and you decide what you want to sell your house for, that's what you're going to sell your house for, and you have a buyer coming in, and the buyer isn't even part of that conversation. The buyer doesn't go out and start getting contracts for a new porch or a new roof without an agreed upon price of that house. We're just kind of going about this backwards. So we know that we want to get this done. We would love to get a bonding bill done. But this is, when we don't have a number, what that number is going to be for the GO, for the cash, offers have been going back and forth, and until we have that number, I don't know why we're wasting everybody's time.
Chair Pappas.
Thank you, Chair Lee, and thank you so much, Senator Housley, for those sentiments. I have to say that I do share them. It is very frustrating that we don't have a target yet. However, I mean, the Democrats have agreed on our local projects, and although I have warned my caucus that if we don't get a full 330 in our number for local projects, these numbers will change or they'll come down, so they're aware of that. But, there's a lot of staff work that has to go on behind the scenes, and we just need to be able to kind of move forward. And we've repeatedly asked Republicans to at least share your local projects with us so they can be included on the spreadsheet per your choice rather than our choice. And so this is not something that we like to have to do. We just feel like if we're ever going to get across the finish line, we have to at least present something. Senator Erdahl.
Representative Erdahl.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Speaker, wrong place. Well, future Speaker, maybe. But thank you for the work that you've done, for working with us through this process. I really can't complain about the relationship that we've had in trying to put this together. We may have a few little disagreements here at the end, but we'll get those resolved. I would like to say, regarding the number, obviously that's important. The 4 leaders should have given us a number by now. I asked on the first day of session, what's our number going to be? When can we get a number? I have probably asked weekly, when are we going to get a number? The fact is, they're not giving us a number. So what do? I mean, it is now Tuesday, right? It's still Tuesday? It's Tuesday. I mean, we are running out of days. When is leadership at the higher level going to give us a number? Maybe Saturday? Maybe Friday? So we can put the bill together like, you know, snap your fingers? That's not how it works. So the approach taken, I thought, was a reasonable one. We took a number, 930, and we said, okay, that's what we're going to work from, fully realizing that that's not necessarily the final number. So we do a bill at 9:30 with the realization that when that number comes, if it ever does, we'll either shave the numbers or we'll add, depending on what the number is. That seemed like a reasonable approach, and that's what we took in this. In terms of what we are doing today with these Republican projects, I appreciate that my DFL counterparts tried to make some good guesses as to what they thought our members wanted and what would work out. Probably in some cases you hit it, but in a lot of cases I think it's not going to work. And so where we are right now is doing a procedural thing. We now have a bill that has all of the local projects revealed, at least on paper. At some point, my fervent desire is that we work this through, we get the projects in order the way we want them, and that at the leadership level above us, these concerns that they have on other issues, not on capital investment bonding, but on other issues, can get resolved. These are experienced political public servants, and again, my fervent hope is that they will be able to work together to have some give and take, to recognize the needs of each other and get something done so that we can move forward and get a bill passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Erdahl. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Lee and Hannah.
Mr. Chair and members, I'll read through the first few pages of the capital investment spreadsheet that you have in front of you. Starting on line 19, the first Grand 2 political subdivision is Northern Lights Special Education Cooperative Learning Center, is in at GO, and all of these amounts are general obligation bond. In this first one is in at $3 million.
Andrew, can you pull the mic a little closer?
Certainly. Then on the next few lines under the Department of Natural Resources, for flood hazard mitigation specific to Moorhead, $2 million. For historic Forestville Bridge and Trail renovation, $1.993 million.
Madam Chair, we're having a hard time finding the document he's reading from. If we could just get that in front of us.
Thank you.
Just identify it, please.
So it
Which
should be in
document?
front of you, the spreadsheet that has the title 2024 capital budget.
And at which time at the bottom? It's at 9?
Timestamp at 9:15 p.m.
Thank you.
So was this passed out, Ms. Carlson?
Someone else, and it was passed out to at the gaveling end.
I think this is it, 9:15. Thank you very much.
All right. Moving on to.
Madam Chair, can we wait for that, please? Is that it? No? No, this is my stuff.
9:15 p.m.
Okay, yeah, you can. Yeah, no, Madam Chair.
Sarah Housing doesn't have it. Here, I have an extra.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Does everyone else have one now?
And so I think the Senate, there will be meeting, and so they may have the spreadsheets for the committee afterwards. And so I think it's being passed out right now, and so we'll make sure that the page and the committee staff get that in front of everyone. Please proceed.
All right, Mr. Chair, members, the next one is City of Anoka, Rum River Dam, pre-design and design for $1,492,000. Then Scott County Public Water Access Improvements for $500,000. Then under Pollution Control Agency for capital assistance for Dakota and Scott County, $8 million. For capital assistance for Blue Earth County, $3,450,000. For capital assistance for Pope Douglas Solid Waste Joint Powers Board, $1.9 million. For Olmsted County, $3.5 million for food waste separation. For Hubbard County, $2,613,000. Then for the Department of Administration, under a grant for political subdivision, City of Rice Lake Veterans Memorial at $100,000. Under the Department of Public Safety for the City of Hilltop Emergency Shelter, City Hall, and Community Center in at $2 million. The City of Lewiston Public Safety and Government Center in at $2,196,000. The City of Mendota Heights Police Department City Hall renovation and expansion, $1,462,000. City of Osseo Public Safety Facility, $1.6 million. City of Painesville Fire Station and Emergency Services Center, $3,992,000. City of Rice Lake Regional Public Safety Facility, $2 million. Lake of the Woods County Law Enforcement and Government Facilities at $5 million. Then under the Department of Transportation, City of Barnesville, 13th Street renovation, $950,000. City of Bloomington, Normandale Trail reconstruction, $4 million. City of Columbus, Hornsby Street Northeast, $615,000. City of Coon Rapids, East River Road, $2.8 million. City of Edina, Trunk Highway 100 and Vernon Avenue, 50th Street interchange improvements at $2 million. Then for the City of Greenfield, $1.326 million. For the City of Little Falls, $500,000. For Minneapolis ADA transition, pedestrian access and safety improvements, $4 million. For the City of Minneapolis Nicollet Avenue Bridge over Minnehaha Creek, $13,096,000. For the City of Richfield, Nicollet Avenue reconstruction, $1.9 million. For the City of Slayton, 36th Street reconstruction, $2.5 million. For the City of Stewart, 15th Avenue, $1.5 million. For the City of Stillwater, Myrtle Street reconstruction, $1,927,000. Also for the City of Stillwater, Washington Avenue intersection, $1,268,000. For the City of St. Louis Park, Oxford, Louisiana area infrastructure improvements, $2.766 million. For the Duluth Airport Authority, air traffic control tower replacement, $2,550,000. For the City of Waconia, Trunk Highway 5 Phase 2 reconstruction, $2,195,000. For Washington County, County Road 19A and 100th Street realignment, $2 million. Under the Metropolitan Council, Dakota County, Thompson Park, $4 million. For the City of St. Paul, 3 items. Battle Creek Park field improvements, $1,447,000. The Como Zoo Conservatory Big Cat Habitat, $1.5 million. The Mississippi River Learning Center at $2.5 million. Then for the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board, North Commons Regional Vision, $6 million. Under the Department of Human Services, Clay County Youth Transition Facility, $1,093,000. For the Department of Corrections, this is a state prison, $7,439,000. And I will pass it over to Ms. Nolander for the remainder of the spreadsheet.
Mr. Chair and members, for the record, my name is Hannah Grunwald-Nolner. I'm the fiscal analyst on the Senate Capital Investment Committee. And I'll pick it up on page 3 of the spreadsheet with the Department of Employment and Economic Development. For Anoka County, historic auditorium renovation, $500,000. For City of Alexandria, Runestone Community Center expansion, $4.4 million. For City of Atkin, City Park Field House, $527,000. For the City of Blooming Prairie, water infrastructure, $1,533,000. For City of Brooklyn Center, Opportunity Site Public Infrastructure, $2 million. City of Brooklyn Park renovation and expansion of youth and teen center, $3,750,000. For the City of Cambridge shelter facility, $1,020,000. For City of Hopkins recreation and resilience hubs, $4.5 million. For Hennepin County of Vivo, $2 million. City of Meadowlands community center and park, $800,000. City of Minnetonka Opus Public Space, $3.2 million. City of New Hope golf course improvements, $754,000. City of Plymouth regional stormwater ponds, $3.2 million. City of Rainier Public Works Maintenance Building, $200,000. City of Shakopee Hub Project, $3,755,000. And two projects for the City of South St. Paul. First, Public Works Facility, $3,115,000. And secondly, Accessible Aquatic Facility for $675,000. For the City of St. Cloud, CentraCare Medical School Campus, $4 million. Also for City of St. Cloud, Downtown Catalyst Infrastructure Riverwalk, $3.2 million. For St. Louis County Heritage Arts Center, $2.5 million. For the City of St. Paul, Jimmy Lee Rec Center, $4 million. For the City of St. Paul Minnesota Latino Museum, $6,425,000. For the City of St. Peter Gorman Park, $1.2 million. For City of Waite Park, the Ledge Amphitheater Park Project, $850,000. For Hibbing Public Utilities, Public Infrastructure Improvements, $1,089,000. For Monoman County, Monoman Health Center, $10 million. For Otter Tail County, Transitional Workforce Housing, $745,000. For Ramsey County, Gibbs Farm, Preservation and Accessibility, $2 million. Also for Ramsey County, Rice Creek Commons Public Infrastructure, $11.4 million. For Red Lake County, Courthouse Project, $2 million. For Renville County Wellness Center, $9 million. For Traverse County, County Courthouse, $3 million. Washington County Emergency Housing Services Building, $2 million. And then for the Iron Range Resources and Rehab Board, for the Minnesota Discovery Center, $2.5 million. Moving on to the Public Facilities Authority. For the City of Aurora drinking water system, including the town of White, $2.2 million. City of Albert Lee wastewater treatment facility regulatory updates, $12.5 million. City of Burnsville water treatment plant rehabilitation, $2,650,000. City of Coates clean water regionalization, $1.89 million. City of Dayton Water Tower 2, $1,685,000. City of Duluth Water Treatment Plant Improvements, $2.5 million. City of Eagle Lake Water Treatment Improvements, $1.4 million. City of Elysian Water Improvement Project 2024, $2.4 million. City of Hastings PFAS treatment and water lines, $10 million. City of Lafayette Water System Improvement, $1.3 million. City of Louisville Sewer Water Road System Replacement, $5 million. City of Litchfield wastewater, $10 million. City of Minneapolis water distribution facility, $5.7 million. City of Minnetonka Beach water main improvements, $3 million. City of Moose Lake inflow and infiltration reduction project, $1,575,000. City of Morristown infrastructure improvements phase 2, $1 million. City of Newport North Newport infrastructure improvement, $2.85 million. City of New Germany wastewater treatment, $4,450,000. City of Proctor I-35 commercial development, utilities expansion and upgrades, $3.5 million. City of Sacred Heart phase 3 infrastructure improvements, $1.5 million. City of Scandia Bliss collector wastewater treatment facility improvements, $1.6 million. City of Silver Lake 2024 water improvements, $4,953,000. City of Waseca water tower, $5,427,000. City of Winona wastewater treatment, $1.6 million. City of Woodbury water tower project, $3,704,000. Laketown Township wastewater, $6,460,000. For Lincoln Pipestone supplemental funding for North Water Source, $7,412,000. For Middle Fork Crow River watershed, water infrastructure, $2.2 million. For Prior Lake Spring Lake Watershed District outlet pipelining project, $500,000. West Central Regional Water District, $4,350,000. And then on line 392 for estimated GO bond sale expenses, additional amount of $336,000 for that. And on the final page, you'll see the total GO before cancellations is $336,150,000. And there's two cancellations on lines 419 and 420, one from 2023 for a lift station cancellation of $1.6 million, and on line 420, 2020 cancellation from St. Louis Park at $4.5 million, leaving the net GO impact at $330,050,000. And Mr. Chair and members, will stop there for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Lee, and thank you, Ms. Grunwald-Noldner. Members, discussion. Senator Housley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I'm a little disappointed that I was counting all the people out there and how many man-hours of work time we're losing because, again, there is no number that has been agreed upon. So all of this, you too are hoping it's $330 million. It's not what was in the last offer that was going back and forth between the leaders, so already $100 million has to be cut off of this number. It's just extremely disappointing that you wanted the projects from us today by noon when this hearing was scheduled for 3. So the amount of time you were saying it was going to take to pull this together was 3 hours. So instead, I don't know who pulled all of these projects from the Republican districts and dropped them in here in 3 hours' time when we could be doing this when there is an agreed upon global agreement and a number, which would make much more sense and save a lot of people from driving here, sitting here to watch this show. So I'm just, again, saying how disappointed I am.
Chair Pappas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your comments, Senator Housley. Of course, people can join remotely, so they didn't have to drive in. Just a little side note here, because we do have that option. I do feel, though, that we have been asking for the local project list from the minority leads for quite a while, and yesterday we really hoped that we could work on those together. Yesterday at 2 o'clock, then it got postponed till 4 o'clock. And then neither you nor Representative Erdahl came with your local project list. So we said, okay, we'll give you another day. So we said, can you do it by noon today so that staff has time to put them in the spreadsheet? And we didn't get that list. So as I said, Chair Lee and I, over the last few weeks, we started preparing our own list because we did not want all the Republican districts to miss out on getting some projects funded. We think we have a really balanced list here, a really fair list. We stuck to the division of the 330 is divided in half in 4 parts for each caucus. I chose kind of for the senators and Rep. Lee chose for the House members. Sometimes we overlapped. That can happen, and then we shared the costs. But we didn't really want to put together the Republican list. We really prefer that you do that. But we also wanted to make sure we gave a list to the staff so that they could begin doing some due diligence, checking with MMB, checking with if there wasn't the full amount of money, then the language has to be rewritten. And otherwise, you end up with a lot of modifications like we did this year because we rushed last year. And I really hope that we wouldn't be in the same situation this year, that we could work together cooperatively, come up with our proposals while we waited for the leadership to give us final numbers. So I'm disappointed that that didn't happen.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Housley.
Thank you. Again, you need Republican votes to pass this. Staff does have all of our projects, but we are not disclosing them because, again, we don't have an agreed-upon deal. Republican members are a little leery to show this table members what their projects are, because last year their mayors got phone calls from you, Madam Chair, letting them know that their member wasn't supporting their project and wasn't passing the bill, or their county commissioners calling up that member and saying, hey, I got a call from Senator Pappas and she said, you're not voting in favor of the bonding bill. So we're not going to disclose our projects right here when we don't have an agreed upon deal, and that's what we've been saying all along. We're happy to get a bond. I've got tons of bonding projects I'd like to get done, but I can't agree upon anything until there is a global deal with everybody. So you need to work with us on this. I know the Uber, Lyft, City of Minneapolis, Democrats had their deal, which really wasn't a deal without Uber and Lyft at the table. This feels like that. This feels like you guys decided what your bonding bill is going to look like. Let's put it out there. Let's shame the Republicans, and here's the bonding bill if we could get one, but the Republicans aren't working with us. We are working with you. We just have to get a global deal and a number before we can actually agree upon any of this. Thank you.
Just a
Pappas.
thank you. Just a final comment. I think there's just a basic disagreement here on how we should work, and that there are some of us who feel that we should review the projects as a team. And Representative Erdahl and Senator Housley were invited to many, many meetings with us. Representative Erdahl, thank you for attending. Senator Housley usually had another conflict, which I regret. Because we really, really did want to be inclusive of the Republican caucus. And it's disappointing that, again, like last year, that didn't happen, because you just can't wait till we disagree, that you wait until there's a global agreement. Then it's too much scrambling and too many mistakes get made if you're waiting for a global agreement. And even with the negotiations over a global agreement, they can't agree what should be negotiated with the bonding bill. The Democrats feel like we should just negotiate within the bonding bill about what we want and a target for the bonding bill, and the Republicans are bringing in other issues that are not acceptable to the Democratic leadership. So that's kind of a problem, and I wish that our leadership would resolve that, but because they haven't, I just feel, and Chair Lee can speak for himself, that we just need to move forward with what we have so that the public has some idea of what we're looking at. You can see we are looking at public safety projects. We are looking at transportation projects. We're looking at projects that get funded through deed. We're looking at wastewater projects. Extensive number of wastewater projects. And then the state agency bill, which the House has on the floor now, that has $600 million of more funding for wastewater, for bridges, for all kinds of projects for state agencies. Asset preservation is a big priority for us and for the governor. So it's a complicated bill with a lot of moving pieces, and I think that the idea is we're just going to move it forward and keep talking.
All right, thank you, Senator Chair Pappas. We do have a list. First will be Representative Franzen, Senator France, Senator Pratt, Senator Rasmussen, and then back to Representative Scrabble. Representative Franzen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. So first off, I appreciate the fact that you did put a list together. It gives us a good, I think, baseline of what we're looking at. Personally, my humble opinion is we went without a bonding bill for a number of years, Mr. Chair. And as we went on the bonding tour during the fall, we saw the needs across the state. And quite honestly, we saw the harm that had been done to communities, especially with those with wastewater treatment issues, by not having a bonding bill. And so I'm quite happy to see some of these projects that we visited in there that I know quite certainly are in dire situations. Just put a plug in. I don't see my wastewater treatment facility in there for $22 million, but, you know, this is a starting point, I understand. But with that said, I hope that when there is a number, I'd like to see it at the max, Mr. Chair. I know some people probably squirm about that, but the needs are real. And if we are not reaching those needs, you know what happens? It becomes more expensive the next bonding bill. And then the projects list become less and less as that inflation rises. So that's just something to think about, Mr. Chair. And again, I thank you for, you know, we've had since February to come up with a number, and we are running out of time. And so I understand why you did what you did. So I'm not upset about that at all, and I just really do hope that we can show the state of Minnesota and our communities that we can work together and do some good things for our communities so that they are not drinking bottled water at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Franzen. Senator Frantz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to start by saying the people of Minnesota are not quite as worried about where we've been as about where we're going. I want to thank both chairs. I want to thank Senator Housley, Representative Erdahl. Thanks for the work you've done so far. We will be with you to get to the finish line. I agree with Representative Franzen. One of the main issues Minnesotans are looking at is these projects do not get less expensive. And so however we got to this moment, you should count on every member sitting up here to do the work necessary to get this passed. And I want to just put out there that this is a time for teamwork. The bill cannot pass without all 4 caucuses. And you have a pledge from the Senate DFL caucus that will do whatever it takes to get the bill done and in a way that's fair to all 4. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Frantz. Senator Pratt. Senator Pratt is joining us virtually. Senator Pratt, you may want to go ahead.
There we go. Thank you. Appreciate it. I had a hard time finding the little button. Mr. Chair, and I just want to reiterate a little bit of what Senator Housley was saying. You know, what we're finding in this bonding bill is a carryover of the lack of respect and partnership working together bipartisanly in the chamber. And I do know that Senator Housley's been working diligently to put together a list. And, you know, I'll just say I think I heard a couple of mistakes in the list that was provided, so we're going to have to work through that anyway. But Senator Housley, thank you for working within our caucus, and I certainly understand the caution that you're showing in how we work through this. And if we had a better relationship in the chamber, if we had more trust, if we had more bipartisanship in the chamber, I think we have a much better product in front of us today. Thank you.
Senator Rasmussen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think what House and Senate Republicans are offering our friends in the majority here today is an opportunity to end session in a bipartisan manner. And that definitely can include a bonding bill. I think Leader Johnson, Leader Demuth did a great job of talking about where negotiations are at and highlighting the current offer from Republicans, which includes $860 million in GO, $30 million in cash, funding for EMS, and making sure that on some of these most divisive issues, we're able to find bipartisan consensus in the last 4 days. And so I think, you know, bonding is something that requires bipartisan support. I think it can be a vehicle to bring us together as a legislature in these last couple of days, and I hope it does. And that would just be the outreach I would, you know, have to all my Democrat colleagues is I think we have a chance to end this in a bipartisan session, to get some really good things done on the people of Minnesota. But it has to be a true partnership, and we have to be able to collaborate on a number of issues here in the closing days. So I hope that we can move forward with that. Thank you.
Representative Scrappa.
I've been here for a year and a half. You senators are very collegial, very nice. I'm not going to come down that way. To say I'm frustrated, to say I'm upset, I'm beyond all of that. I had a heart procedure last week, and I saw the doctor today, and I said, can I still go? Can I do it? He said, yeah, go ahead. So I'm okay, I'm checked out, I can do this. So I want to repeat Senator France, I agree, thank you, everything has been good. Senator Pratt, again, touched on what I want to talk about. Senator Rasmussen, same thing, kind of nice. 70 to 64, 34 to 33, guaranteed, every night, guaranteed. Yet we have this bonding bill that I went around the whole state with the group. I saw these projects. I saw most of you. I agree we need to do it. I'm a representative that looks at these projects and says, if we don't do them, who does? Do you ask a small town of 300 people to do a $4 million project? It's not going to happen. We need to help them. That's what our job is. That's what we do. But I keep looking at where we are. How did we get here? I mean, I'm so frustrated. It's Tuesday. The only power that the Republican Party has right now is to negotiate a bonding bill. And what are we doing? We're going to wait till Saturday, Sunday. I disagree. I am not critical of anyone at this table, any of us. Chair Lee, we did a great job. I mean, my frustration lies in this whole process. You know, I can sit back and say, what do we get? What are we getting as a group, as a elected body, the Republicans? And everyone's like, well, that's just the way it works. That's what power is. That's what it is. I wouldn't treat my worst enemy the way I've been treated. If we were to go before a divorce judge, the judge would give us everything, the Republicans. They wouldn't give the Democrats anything because of the way we've been treated. That is my perception. I look at this bill, and I'm not even worried about where the dollars are. Last year, we had this same thing. I saw the list. I go, oh, my, what are we going to do? Well, you know what? We all settled out after this, and we got those numbers. That's not what I'm talking about. I know that between the four leaders and everyone's going to get to it. The problem I have is, other than a bonding bill, which every one of us wants, I don't know anyone at this table that is a member that doesn't want it. What else is there? I look at the Republicans and I'm like, this is our negotiating tool. What is it worth to the Democrats to give us something? Last night I listened to an election bill that just makes no sense to me. And I had to sit and listen to it, and I knew, quote, it was going to pass. I'm like, is there some way we can stop this? Yeah, right here. This bonding bill. You guys want bonding? Then give us something. Work with us. Work with leadership. I have not heard anything about what, quote, we're going to negotiate together. That's frustrating. For me, it's really frustrating. So when this thing shakes out, and it will, I hope, I mean, I can't promise you. I could tell you right now, if you tried to do a bonding bill, I don't think it would pass. Because I think everyone's frustrated. I think you have a member on this side that could make a move, and then you could see a lot more support. But that's up to, $900 million on your shoulders. Do what you want to do. But I'm looking at right now, we need to work together, and not just on this bonding bill. Not just this, the other things that come with the bonding bill. And I guess I want to say up front before Sunday or Monday, if there is no bonding bill, it's not the Republicans' fault. It's not our fault. I mean, I'm asking you to work with us now, and if you don't want to, however this works out, I have no problem going back to my constituents and saying, hey, we tried. This is the way we work. This is what happened. Trifectas don't work. Let's just abolish. Let's get rid of them. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Ryer.
Thank you, Chair Lee. And members, it's a pleasure to be here. We have talked a lot about Democrats. We've talked a lot about Republicans. We've talked a lot about what we want and what they want. And we have talked very little about what the people of Minnesota need. We have not talked about Well, we have. Representative Franzen is talking about the water treatment needs. You know, we hear people talking about the various problems in the state, the crumbling infrastructure, the neglect that we've seen over the years. And I think back to my first 2 years here, where we didn't pass a bonding bill, when we had record low interest rates, and we let politics get in the way of using those resources and investing in our state. And that's what I'm seeing, the path I'm seeing us go down again. And I just wanted to reflect a bit on some of the best practices that I've seen from people on both sides of the aisle to remind us that we need to work together for people in Minnesota. I've seen people who are members of the GOP supporting and advocating for projects in blue districts and vice versa. I've seen people, I've heard our conversations where we say, you know, this water treatment plant doesn't represent anyone in our caucus, but boy, they sure need it. It's a crisis and it needs to be on the list. We have those conversations. And yet, instead of following those best instincts and delivering on our promise when we got our election certificates, we are letting capital investment be used as a pawn yet again. And I think we need to rise above that. And I think that we all have it in us to rise above that and think about the people in Minnesota. Think about the mayors and who have come to me from districts across the state saying, please, can you help us get this project? And all I can tell them is, I will tell your story, but I only have my one vote. I can't vote for you too. I can't vote your district. So I'm asking my colleagues in the House and Senate, both sides of the aisle, to step up, stop talking about all of the problems with the process that was very inclusive for anyone who wanted to be at the table, and talk about, you know, this list isn't perfect, but it's a framework that we can work with, that where we can come up with something that doesn't make our staff, who we depend on and who work harder than any staff I've ever seen in any of the organizations I've worked in. Sorry, everyone out there who I worked with, but we can't just dump it on them at the end. That's why we've been doing this, so they can have the language for all of these projects and be able to say, okay, now we can sculpt. We can cut out some, we can add others, rather than starting from scratch on Saturday morning. So please join me and support this. Thank you.
Representative Hussein.
Thank you, Charlie, and Senator Sandy Pappas, Chair, for putting us together for this tour. We have seen in the state of Minnesota, every little town, we have seen it. People are asking us to work together and pass something tangible that we could deliver for the state of Minnesota. The water sewer treatments that we have seen, it's included Representative Scrabo's district that we have seen. People, what they're drinking, it's not great. And what I have seen is something that really bothers me, that I really worry about it. If we don't pass this bill and we don't work together, we're just gonna fall behind even more and more costs and more damage to our people of Minnesota. We are living in a great nation and we live in a great state. We have to take care of our people and we have to work together to pass and take care of these issues that has been building. I've only been here a year and a half, and it was great to see that, you know, we came together and passed a bill, bonding last year, but it wasn't happening. What we need to ask is what gets us in here, because we did not have agreement in the past. There's now bonding. If we delayed more and more and more, it's going to cost more people, and the Minnesota people are watching us. I want to thank all the people that have reached out to my office, not only my district, but the whole state of Minnesota and asking for demanding, and we all need to work together, and thank you very much.
Representative Erdahl.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the conversation here today. I have been on this committee for 20 years, and I've seen a lot since the beginning, and a lot of changes in operation. I want to say that 20 years ago, certainly we had people who didn't want to do bonding. My first year in the legislature, we didn't do a bonding bill. We have one other time since then not done a bill. And there were extenuating circumstances in each case. The desire was there to get it done. But more and more, as time has gone on, the belief that the bonding bill is all the minority has, and they have to leverage to get things in that bill in order to give votes for a bonding bill, has grown. In the early days, it didn't have that impact. But for whatever reason, it has now. And we are faced with this reality, and we must deal with it. And we need to work with our respective leadership to make sure that they are working toward this goal, because it is so, so important. It is our responsibility as state legislators to take care of the assets of the state of Minnesota. That's one of the main reasons why we are in office. And it is an abdication of that responsibility if we don't do it. Trust is an important factor. And I have seen over the years an erosion of trust in the legislature. And that's also very unfortunate. Our word is our bond, and we have to be trusted to do our jobs. I'll just conclude by saying again, there are a lot of issues here, a lot of needs that must be addressed. Again, emphasizing these needs are still going to be there next year. The requests we had were billions of dollars more than what we are spending or trying to spend. But we need to make sure that we find a way to address them, because, again, we have people drinking poison water in Minnesota. We have bad roads. We have bad bridges. I could go on the list of the needs that are only going to get more expensive next year. We are dealing with the health and safety and of the people of Minnesota and the preservation of the assets of the state. Water, roads, bridges, all of those things are very, very important. And I appreciate the dedication of people on this committee. Certainly, I'm more familiar with working with the House members on this, but this is the one area where there has been bipartisanship and people working together, and working together successfully. The other areas, we don't have the supermajority. We don't have the forced need to work together. But somehow we have to bring this back. And again, I'll just conclude by saying what happens next is beyond the people of this committee. It's on a higher level. And I am certainly hopeful that we can reach an agreement that is satisfactory to everyone. Thank you.
Representative Grosso.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this is not the same legislature that I came into. It is not. There's such great divides, and it's not good for anybody in the state, for either side. We're supposed to be here doing the work of the people in all committees, in all areas. And I can give you probably about 17.5 billion reasons why there's some hesitation from my side of the aisle. 17.5 billion reasons why. Now, it's our job to take care and be good stewards of the tax dollars, of the resources of our constituents, of the citizens of the state. And those $17.5 billion that did not go back to the places that they should have, I've got a hesitation myself, I do. But I want to do the work that the people sent us here to do. So I'm willing to give and take, but it's got to be both ways. It's got to come from both directions. So we'll keep working together. I'm ready to go to work. Been waiting to do that. Thank you.
Senator Nelson.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, we've had quite a discussion here today, and just a couple thoughts. Much of it seemed to sound like it was a quite partisan discussion, respectfully partisan discussion. But you know, the fact of the matter is, while things up here might be intensely partisan, you know, we all know, we go back to our districts, it's not partisan. People want to know, what are you doing? And are you doing the things that are important to me? And are you representing me? And so I think we have to try to shed those partisan thinking that I know is so strong under this Capitol dome. But that is not the way that our constituents think. And I hope that we can eschew that type of thinking as well. And I also wanted to make a note about the fact that, well, you know, we can't wait till the last minute and we need to get our work done. And yes, I know many of you have stood with me as we've tried to end last minute lawmaking over the years. And what I've learned, as others have told me, well, Carla, as long as there's time on the clock, people are going to negotiate. And so we have to realize that that is a fact, but I also want the public to know that we have done a lot of work here. We have done our homework. The many tours across this state. I don't believe there's a single project in either this offer or that will show up in a bonding bill that hasn't had a bill introduced. These projects are being vetted, they have been vetted, and I think they will continue. Now they are jockeying for position. So the bottom line is, we are now at a decision time, and that is the crux of the matter here before us today. We are at that decision moment, but much of that decision is out of the control of those of us sitting here at this table. We do need to hear from that negotiations that is ongoing, hopefully right now, with both Senate, House, Republican, Democrat leaders on what is this, not exactly the details of this bonding bill, but what are the parameters going to be. And you really have to start with the end in mind when it comes to a bonding bill or most other things in life. And so we need to know, what is that end? What is that agreement with the House, Senate, Republican, Democrats on the ending of session here, on this bonding bill? What's the amount? So I'm looking forward to that. I have been a strong supporter of bonding bills. I hope to be going forward. But of course, it all depends on the details. We have to see what our limitations are, and then we should be able to hopefully, Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, move quickly in prioritizing those projects which we have toured, visited, had bills submitted on hearings, and then get done with our work on time. So I think there is I'll just say this, where there's a will, there's a way. And so let's go.
Representative Fogelman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last year we passed one of the biggest bonding bills that we've ever passed, and we are now facing a deficit. And I agree that there's needs. Representative Franzen and Representative Erdahl talking about water issues Those things need to be taken care of. And you're looking at this list, and I think we need to look at wants versus needs. I mean, we have a youth and teen center, a shelter facility, golf course improvements. I mean, are those things necessary? I mean, they're needs, or they're wants, but they're not needs. Those are the things that we should be looking at for bonding. We should be looking at absolutely critical things that need to be taken care of. We're spending $730 million on an office building for what? How many more projects could we be taking care of on this list? And on the list that aren't even on the list, that are needs, not wants. That's what we're supposed to be doing here. We're supposed to be taking care of the citizens of this state, not just little pet projects that are wants. Yeah, it's tough to be a small community. I live in a small community. I've grown up, the town I grew up in was less than 800 people, and I watch it dwindle away. But we can take care of what we need to in this committee, and that's what we need to start doing. So I'm more than happy to pass a bonding bill that is just strictly what we are supposed to be looking at, and not all these extra things that don't need to be in here. Thank you.
Members, any additional questions or comments before I turn it over to the leads to close off the joint hearing? So I'll turn it over to Senator Housley if you have any closing remarks, and then to Representative Erdahl, I know you spoke, if you have any, and then Chair Pappas, and then I'll close it off. Senator Housley.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. And I think there were over $7 billion worth in asks for bonding projects this year. And we toured the state, and there were so many worthy projects, roads, bridges, public safety, clean water, so many needs across the state. And I really do want to get one done. So do all of my colleagues want to get one done, get a bonding bill done. But when it's day in and day out of 34 Democrats all in line to 33 Republicans, we're not asked to the table. Our input means nothing on all of these other bills, where Representative Ryer, you said we've got to take off our partisan hat and we just have to do what's right for the state of Minnesota. I would like to apply that to all of the other bills also. Could you take off your partisan hat, and could we have a conversation? Could we do what's right for the state of Minnesota, not just Minneapolis and St. Paul? There's a whole big state here. And I think that's what is most frustrating, is we have been trying to have our voice heard, and we've been having the doors slammed on us every single time. And now, the one bill you need us for, all of a sudden, we're playing partisan politics. That is what's disappointing, because we want this just as much as everybody else does. We want to work together. We want to get this done. But we need to be included in all of the discussions, because it's been partisan for long enough, and we've got 4 days left, and we can still get this done. Thank you.
Representative Erdahl.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And, once again, a little bit echoing Senator Housley's comments. I mean, like it or not, everything has become more partisan. I agree. At least in this committee, we don't have that same type of partisanship that seems to be prevalent in the rest of the legislature. But it's the world we're living in right now, and I would hope that once I leave, it becomes more bipartisan. Wait, that doesn't work. I still do hope that in the future we can find ways to maybe return to the way things used to be somehow, because we are faced with some very trying times. That said, I again thank the members of this committee, Senate the House for the work that has been put in, the many hours dedicated, the driving all over the state looking at projects, sitting next to Leon Lilly in the back of the bus, all these very trying things that we've done. And
I got to listen to both of yours.
yeah, well, anyway, we need to get through this and, again, do what we were elected to do. And so I urge, again, I think it's the third time I'll have said it, but we have to hope that leadership continues to talk, continues to look to find solutions, and help us find a way to get this done and some other things as well. That said, Chair Lee, I'd like to ask, the policy portion of the bill, when are we going to be dealing with that again, or will we?
Thank you, Representative Erdahl, for the policy discussions. I think that as we continue to work through this, whether that's spreadsheets for agencies, local projects, policies, I think that we need to address every one of them one by one, and so I look forward to that conversation around policies.
Well, thank you.
Chair Pappas.
Thank you so much, Chair Lee, and I want to just say it's been a pleasure working with you and with Representative Ryer and our staff and your staff, Representative Erdahl, Senator Housley, when we were able to work together. I just want to make a couple brief comments. I think this whole discussion about wants versus needs is very interesting because one person's perspective about something that's a want is another community's perspective that it's a need. And that's where it's very difficult for us as chairs to make those lines because we just have different feelings about that. To somebody, a public safety center is absolutely a need for their community. And, we've toured them around the state and we know that they're in bad shape. And I've got a fire hall on the east side of St. Paul that's in bad shape. But, and I know it's hard to go down those roads because once you fund one, there's so many around the state. And that's a tough issue. The governor didn't help us with that, as he promised communities around the state. So that's an issue in trying to balance, what communities really feel is important to them and members. I also did want to call out some bipartisan bills that we have passed, in particular, my pension pals, Senator Friend, Senator Rasmussen, Senator Nelson. We all serve on the Pension Commission, and that we've always tried very hard to make that a bipartisan bill. I feel very strongly about that as well. When I've been chair or vice chair in the past, I've tried to do that. And then most of all, I really want to thank all my bonding buddies for us on the tour, like the House. We really enjoyed, we saw 364 projects around the state. I think we had more tour days than you did. And so we are very much aware to the people of Minnesota what your needs are. And I just promise that we're all going to do our very, very best to get a robust bonding bill across the finish line. And hopefully we'll continue to do that every year while those of us are still around and carry on that legacy to some who will be here for possibly many more years. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Pappas. Thank you, members, for this robust discussion and for all of you and the efforts that you put in for us to achieve the largest infrastructure package in state history last year. But, to where we got to that point was that, just want to remind everybody, 2021, 2022, we did not have any infrastructure package. And so the bill last year was a catch-up bill, and if we fail to do anything this year, I think that means that in future years coming before us, as we look towards the forecast that's been in front of us, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for us to chip away at these critical infrastructure package. And I think to some of the, I would say, disappointment or mischaracterization of how we got to this point, this bill and what's in front of us really started, back this fall when we started on our tours. On the House side, we went over throughout the state, 5 different regional tours, 14 days, over 200 projects. Many presentations, as well as actually being in the communities. And I think one of the goals as the chair is really for us to have members from different parts of the state to actually visit other parts of the state and really understand, to Senator Pappas' point, that the needs and wants of communities differs. but we should not, make the judgment for them, and that we should hear them out. And so what we have today in front of us, Representative Erdahl, I wouldn't say it's a guess. As chair and as a former chair, you know that our caucus leadership appoint us as chair and leads because we have the responsibility to move forward with a budget that's been given to us with the targets that we have. And so what we have today in front of us, we've been more than fair to include you and Senator Housley throughout the entire process. And I think that's what's reflected of the state agencies that we moved through the House Ways and Means Committee, and that the Senate is going to move through the committee after we adjourn tonight to move to the Finance. And so that's why, we have offered to have local projects that's reflected of the GOP priorities. And today, the deadline of 12 o'clock was to give you more time ever since our conversation yesterday to see if you're willing to, continue to work with us in a bipartisan manner. But at that point, we couldn't get it in front of us. And so this is what we have today. And so members of the public, as we have this ongoing conversation, I think there's going to be more disappointment if we do have to move off of what we have landed at 930. And I do really want to acknowledge and appreciate the partnership with Representative Erdahl in working at a 930 level to achieve 330 in local projects and 600 million in agencies. And so with that, I will close the House portion of the Senate and House Joint Capital Investment Committee and then turn it over to Chair Pappas.
Thank you again, members, for attending the meeting today. We'll give a few minutes for our House colleagues to depart, and in about 10 minutes or less, possibly, we'll convene the Senate Capital Investment Committee.